Witnessing the month of Ramadan, being alive while the month of Ramadan is present, this is a great ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So first we should witness this and be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gave us the opportunity to witness the month of Ramadan. Two brothers at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, as Talha ibn Ubaydillah radiallahu anhu, he narrated in the book of Al-Muwatta and others. Two brothers, one was more in ibadah than the other. He did a lot of ibadah more than the other. And this person that was more in ibadah, he was martyred in one of the battles with the Prophet ﷺ. And his brother lived after him for a year. And then the second one died after a year. So Talha radiallahu anhu, he saw them in his dream. He saw that the one that died after a year, that was not died as a martyr, he died in his bed. He saw him that he entered Jannah before his brother, the one that died in the battlefield as a martyr, and he was more into ibadah than the second one. So he was amazed by this, surprised by this. He went to the Prophet ﷺ and he asked him. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Why are you surprised? Didn't the second one lived for another year? How much or how many sajda he made in his salah? Didn't he witness Ramadan and fasting?" The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that. Didn't he witness Ramadan and fasting? And then the Prophet ﷺ told him, إنما بينهما أبعد ما بين المشرق والمغرب. What's between them in level is more than between the west and the east. Why? Because of the second one witnessed Ramadan and fasting, and of course more salah and so on. So this is a great ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many people are deprived from it under the ground in their graves. And nobody will live on earth forever. One day also we will be deprived. But the real deprived is the one that would have the regret when the moment of death comes, that he did not spend the time in this life following the way the Prophet ﷺ, taking advantage of every, I would say even second, every breath of our life, in being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll try to mention some of the benefits that we can learn from the Quran that we would hear in the Taraweeh. There are many things actually talk about Ramadan. I won't take too long, inshallah ta'ala, of your time. But there are main things in the month of Ramadan, two main things, the fasting and the Quran. They're always mutalaziman. They're never separated. Fasting and the Quran together. And that's why the pillar of Islam, fasting, this is something to be observed. This is the most obligatory act. This is the most important act of Ramadan. And comes with it the pondering over the Quran, as the Prophet ﷺ used to do. Jibreel ﷺ used to come to the Prophet ﷺ, yudarisu al-Quran, that he would recite the Quran to him. And the year that the Prophet ﷺ died, Jibreel ﷺ did that twice with the Prophet ﷺ. And whenever that happened, as the hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ, whenever Jibreel comes to him, he used to be the most generous then. He used to be the most generous before, but he's more generous whenever Jibreel would come to him and he would recite the Quran to him. So the Quran carries the person to do all means of goodness. So during the day is the struggle and the patience to observe the fasting and to seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and many meanings to be observed in this. And during the night is another form of patience to be deprived away from sleeping. When a person would stand up in the salah and listen to the Quran and ponder over the ayat of the Quran. And there is an authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in Muslim, Imam Ahmad and others talks about this, that as-siyam wal-Quran yashfa'ani al-'abdi yawm al-qiyamah. Fasting and Quran both will intercede for the person in the day of judgment. As-siyam will say, fasting will say, mana'tuhu al-ta'am wal-sharab, I deprived them from eating and drinking. So he will ask to intercede for him. And Al-Quran will say, mana'tuhu al-nawm, that I deprived him from sleeping. He could have went to sleep. It says this is something that we can clearly observe this Ramadan, when the night is very short and the day is very long. So this is something that should bring happiness even in the heart, that the obligations, as far as fasting is concerned, this is the best reward that you can get because the day is long, so the reward is more. And another benefit in this is Fasting by itself is one of the most virtuous acts of worship, by itself, as a ibadah. As the hadith al-Qudsi that we all heard many times, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "As-sawmu li wa ana ajzi bih." Fasting is for me and I give the reward of it. Referring it to himself subhanahu wa ta'ala as a way of having this ibadah such a virtuous one. And the Prophet ﷺ said to Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, "Alayka bis-siyam fa innahu la 'idla lahu." Stay on fasting because nothing is the like of it. As a ibadah by itself, nothing is the like of it. You make salah, begins and ends in minutes. Fasting is a whole day where the person is observing this act of worship. Right? So there's nothing the like of fasting. This is in general. You add to it being a pillar of Islam at the time of Ramadan, a fard. There is nobody can ever comprehend this reward. So that's why if it's repeated all the time, then we should witness that while we're fasting. That if a person fasts the whole year, optional fasting, the reward of all of this is not equal to one day in Ramadan of fasting. That's why whoever breaks the fast intentionally without any excuse in Ramadan, it would not be sufficient for that person to fast his whole entire life to make up for the reward. He just needs to repent, yes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiver if a person sincerely repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but as far as the reward is concerned, nothing like this whatsoever. That's why the early generations of Islam, truly they would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 6 months before Ramadan for them to witness the month of Ramadan. And after Ramadan, they would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept their deeds in Ramadan. So what type of actions they used to do in Ramadan? And the Prophet ﷺ كان يجتهد في رمضان ما لا يجتهد في غيره. He used to exert himself and do the acts of worship ﷺ in such a way that it's not like the other or the rest of the months of the year when we know the ibadah of the Prophet ﷺ. How was it? But even more in Ramadan. So this is all things for us to remember so that we take advantage of every second of this month. And the main thing after the obligations and mandatory acts and the rights of others and so on is the Quran. To fill this month with recitation, memorization, reviewing, pondering over the ayat of the Quran. And again, this is an authentic narration. Otherwise, a person would say there's no way it can happen this way. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he used to finish the Quran in Ramadan 60 times. This is an authentic narration. And this is, of course, when a person reaches a level of, like the level of this a'imma with the knowledge, right? When he's reciting, he's not just reciting without understanding. Although the Prophet ﷺ, he forbade us from finishing the Quran in less than 3 days. Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, he says this is in the normal ways of the Muslim. The rest of the year, the normal way, 3 days is the maximum. But in virtuous times, then if a person has the means, he has the knowledge, he knows the Quran, so when he recites, he's not just saying things without no meaning, no, he understands what he's saying. This is definitely is better if a person has the means. But should a person just recite without understanding? No. The best way is the person to have the balance. One time throughout the day that he's reciting for the reward, another time that he should ponder over the ayat of the Quran. And as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he said, do not make your concern akhir surah, the end of the surah. That should not be your concern. When am I going to finish the surah and the juz'ah and so on? We should ponder over the ayat of the Quran. And this is a great ni'mah, especially in the month of Ramadan. Very briefly, whatever 10 minutes left, inshallah ta'ala. Yes, last night that was the first juz and today is the second juz. Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Fatiha needs sessions like that, of course. Surah Al-Baqarah is also, Umar radiallahu anhu, he studied Surah Al-Baqarah in 8 years. Right? So I'm not sure how or what can we say in 10 minutes in almost most of the surah, because it's better that we know before the night comes so that when you're standing in the salah you can relate to what you're hearing. And by the way, this is nothing to do with having this as a matter of worship or sunnah or bid'ah. This is just a matter of learning and to learn how to ponder over the ayat of the Quran. So we can never give Surah Al-Baqarah its rights in 10 minutes or so. It's a surah that has so many knowledge in it, and it's an important thing for us to start taking or making decisions to learn the Quran and to take more time to learn the Quran. As the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith, تَعَلَّمُوا سُورَةَ الْبَقَرَةِ. He said, learn Surah Al-Baqarah. فَإِنَّ أَخْذَهَا بَرَكَةً. If you take Surah Al-Baqarah, this is barakah. Barakah, that means khayr, goodness that will stay for you forever. وَتَرْكَهَا حَسْرًا, and if you leave it, it's a regret. You regret that you didn't study Surah Al-Baqarah. وَلَا تَسْتَطِيعُهَا الْبَطَلَةِ, and al-batala, they will never be able to study it or learn it. And who are the batala? It was said these are the magicians or the sorcerers. That means if you have Surah Al-Baqarah, you protect yourself from black magic and so on. Also, it was said al-batala, literally, those who are in falsehood, they can never learn it. Because it's barakah, it's blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the barakah is to be given for those who deserve it. So to learn it, to ponder over its meaning, it's ilmun jam, it's so much knowledge. Because matters of aqidah, matters of belief, matters of fiqh, rulings, halal and haram. As one of Ibn Ashur rahimahullah in his tafsir, he said, Suratul Mutaramiyatul Atraf. It's a surah that has so many ends, so many things. Huge knowledge that if a person would learn, it's the longest surah of the Quran. But if you see the surah from faraway distance, it is correct to say that just the general theme of the surah, although there's not one theme to the surah. First of all, the name of it. Why it's called Al-Baqarah? Because of the story of the cow about Bani Israel. So this is something that has significance, that we need to learn the story, which is in the first juz, and you heard it already. And how that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Musa alayhi salam to order his people when they came to him, asking him for what? Asking him to, there was an incident where someone was killed, and they didn't know who was the killer. So they thought they go to the messenger of Allah, he will know by the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when they came to Musa alayhi salam, the wahy came to him, saying to him to do what? وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ordering you to slaughter a cow. See, there's no relationship between both when it comes to people looking at things with their own perceptions of things. When they put aside the wahy, then they said, are you mocking at us? You're making fun of us? What is baqarah? What is a cow? When we're coming asking who is the killer? What is the relationship between the two? But this is what the wahy is supposed to do to the person. You submit yourself. The outcome, don't worry about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most wise. If He ordered you to do something now, you don't see the outcome of it, it's okay. We're supposed to submit ourselves. If you know the outcome of every action now, we want to have the immediate benefit of it and loss and this and that, where is the deen comes in place, where the submission comes in place. And with the story, how they made it difficult on themselves, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it difficult for them. Why was the matter so easy for them? If they had killed any cow, it would have been made easy for them. But they made it difficult for themselves when they kept on asking Musa alayhi salam, as you know the story. So this is a great benefit for us to learn. When you look at the surah in the beginning of it talks about the three categories of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created on earth. The believers, the disbelievers, and the hypocrites. With the characteristics of the believers, with the characteristics of the disbelievers, and the characteristics of hypocrites. The most verses 13 ayah about the hypocrites. And then after that, the first call in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اعْبُدُوا رَبَّكُمُ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. O mankind, worship your Lord, the one that created you, and the one that created those who before you, so that you will attain taqwa. Right? So as if, right, you're reciting the surah from the beginning, you're going through the believers, the disbelievers, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, the hypocrites, many verses, right? And it's scary ayat about the hypocrites and how they are so much in deception and they deceive others and so on. And then you come to the ayah where you are called to be among the first category. So you choose to be among the believers when you're reciting the surah like this, the call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the Prophet ﷺ is the first mention in Surah Al-Baqarah among the messengers of Allah. How is that? Although the name of Allah, of the Prophet ﷺ is mentioned. The ayah says, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَى عَبْدِنَا. Right? If you have doubt of what we had revealed or brought down on our slave Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so the mention of the Quran and the miraculous words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the challenge to all mankind. Then the story of Adam alayhi salam, our father, and what happened between him and the shaitan, the everlasting enemy that we should never forget about him. Although in Ramadan, as the Prophet ﷺ said, that this is a month where تُصَفَّدُ فِيهِ الشَّيَاطِينُ وَمَرَضَةُ الْجِنِّ, that the shayateen and the fiercest of the jinn are chained. So not quite all of them, but the fiercest of them are chained in the month of Ramadan. So the everlasting enemy, for us to know his tricks and steps and so on, it's mentioned in the Quran many verses. يا أيها الناس كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان. This is supposed to be recited tonight, inshallah ta'ala. O mankind, eat from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide for you on the earth, and do not follow the shaitan, do not follow the steps of the shaitan. Steps, when you're taking steps, if you're going up a hill and after this hill is a disaster. While you're taking the steps, you're not seeing where you're going to. And that's how the shaitan, he takes the people step after another, and the more they follow him, the more they become attached to him and become difficult for them to go back and so on. So we are warned not to follow the steps of the shaitan. Then a big portion of the surah talks about Bani Israel, the biggest nation before this ummah, before the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. And as the ulama, they say, the significance of this is that all of the ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never changes. What happened to them, as you see in the Quran, is for us as the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ to learn, because it will be repeated exactly the same. With different, of course, the people are different, things are different, but it's the same sunnah, it's the same ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dealt with Bani Israel when they were obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them abundance. When they disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what happened to them? So it's the same thing for this ummah, but the only difference between this ummah and the nations before, that this is ummah marhum. It's a ummah that have mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this ummah. And this is an ummah where always going to be a group in this ummah who was steadfast on the truth, because the nations before, they changed and so on, so they cannot go back to the truth and to the core of it. But this ummah, everything is saved for it. And no matter how much corruption and deviation, you can still see the khair in this ummah. It's enough to see the month of Ramadan. Where is that on the face of earth where there's a nation holding fast to the religion like the Muslims do? Regardless of how we have many problems, of course, right? But we have to look at the good side. Right? See how who are on the face of earth worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even with deficiencies, but still. So this is an ummah, even with all deficiencies, we should not look only at the bad side of it. So this is ummah to marhuma, as the Prophet ﷺ said, and the khayr is in this ummah till the day of judgment. There's moments of weakness, yes, but it never dies. It would never be demolished from the face of earth. It's just times of weaknesses, but then it will regain its strength. As long as this Quran is on earth, nobody can ever defeat this ummah, because always people will return back to the Quran and hold fast to it. So this is then our job, is to learn about the ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about Bani Israel. The story of Musa alayhi salam and the Baqarah is one of these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them in Surah Al-Baqarah and other than Surah Al-Baqarah with many times, Ya Bani Israel, O children of Israel, Awfu bi'ahdi, and hold fast to my covenant. And what happened when they didn't hold fast to the covenant of Allah? And the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came to them. And the worst of the punishments, and this should be a warning for all of us, that when a person turns away from the covenant of Allah, the worst punishment is not for that person to die or to have sickness or whatever. The worst punishment is to have the heart sealed. And this is something mentioned about Bani Israel, that the person is not able to see the right from what is wrong anymore. فَبِمَا نَقْضِهِمْ مِيثَاقَهُمْ لَعَنَّاهُمْ وَجَعَلْنَا قُلُوبَهُمْ قَاسِيَةً, although it's not in Surah Al-Baqarah, as a result of them breaking the covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cursed them and made their hearts hard. And this is what we need to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and always making sure that we fulfill the covenant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't want to take too much of your time. The ayat also of fasting, and why is it an obligation? Because this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. And the mention of Shahr Ramadan, this blessed month, it's a month where the Quran has been revealed, and in the Quran is guidance and clarity for all mankind, and the rulings in Surah Al-Baqarah about divorce, about marriage, about covenants with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, orphans, and how to deal with them, and many verses for people who would hear وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ right? Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be dutiful to Allah. It's mentioned many times in Surah Al-Baqarah, and this is the goal of fasting, as we heard in the ayah. So it all goes together. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who benefit from the Quran and to accept our deeds. And one last thing is advice to myself and everyone. When you feel like the salah is long and you can't wait till you leave and so on, the reward is given with the effort that a person put. And we should remember the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, whoever prays with his imam till he finishes the salah, it will be written for him qiyamul layl, the qiyam of one night. So it's not something difficult, it's easy by the will of Allah, that we, inshallah, by the will of Allah, guarantee that the person will get the reward of a night prayer, 30 nights or 29 nights. The reward is the previous sins are forgiven, as the Prophet ﷺ said. And from now we should prepare ourselves, if Allah give us life, to Laylatul Qadr, because it's a reward more than just a time where we start working, doing things. No, it's a reward of how the person do now. That person will be rewarded to witness the great ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.